Good morning. Anastasia, I never give you a chance to say good morning.
Oh, well, it's all right.
So we are marketing. What did you say?
Backup singer.
Yeah, exactly. And backup singers, by the way, are so underestimated. We've been listening to a lot of music with backup singers lately. And oh my God, it would not be the same without it. If you think about anything Aretha Franklin song,
Mm.
her backup singers, and same thing with now we're getting off on a tangent, but Ray Charles, his backup singers totally made him. So
Yeah.
anyway,
They stuck with the same ones for a long time too. There's some of the older bands you can see they've had the same backup singers for a long time.
absolutely. So all right. Well, the Pips, right? Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, I am Ann Brennan, and this is,
Anastasia Van Greshappy.
and we are Marketing Moms. We are the podcast that makes marketing simple because it doesn't have to be hard. It really doesn't. You can do this. If you're out there trying to do it on your own, you can do this. And if you don't feel like doing it on your own anymore, you can hire an agency like us.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly. And if you can't hire us directly, we know agencies all over the country that we can introduce you to. So we're happy to do that. Um, we are on YouTube. So we go live on Facebook. We go live on Twitter because that's where all my followers are. If you want to follow me over there, Brennan, Annie. But we go live on YouTube as well. So if you want to subscribe to us over there, we'd appreciate that because it's a good platform for us. It'd be a good place for us to have a lot of followers. And right now we don't have a lot of followers. So help us out over there. Today we're going to talk about something that Anastasia, I think, is really excited about. What are we talking about, Anastasia?
Oh, A/B testing. So A/B
No,
testing is basically like just taking this is A/B is really two versions. So
right.
you have your original version and then you have a modified version. And testing
Exactly.
how the audience responds.
Exactly. Well, and I think most people, at least I shouldn't say most, sometimes I forget that, we're in marketing and other people aren't in marketing. And so maybe they aren't thinking about this. But when I personally think about A/B testing, I always think of email marketing first. So I thought we'd talk about that first, but
Yeah.
it's so much more than that. And we use it, actually, we use it personally in our business, right? We use it and you're doing it with your elimination diet,
Yes.
right?
Although it's not A/B, it's like A to Z testing.
Exactly,
So that was just
exactly.
the introduction phase, I guess, when I get to
Yeah, but it's
right now I'm
important.
just angry and hungry.
I know, and I am so sorry because I cannot even imagine. What you are not allowed to eat right now is ridiculous. So, um, all right. So we're going to talk about first email marketing and the ways that you can do A/B testing and email marketing. And the one that for me, you're going to kind of go over the other ones, but the one that's for me that I think about and we do a lot, we use a website called Robly for most of our email marketing. I don't know that we're going to stick with it because there's some issues there that we're still working on. But for right now, we use them and they allow this A/B testing for your subject line. So I say, I have, yeah, I'm trying to come up with a great example. So actually, we're going to send out something next week on A/B testing. So one of the things I'm probably going to say is this isn't a test, right? As my subject line, but people might not open that. So then why A/B testing works might be my second subject line and see which one works the best. It sends it out to about 20% of the people. And then of that first 20%, you see which ones work the best. And then it'll send the one that does best to the next 20, the next 80%. So it's, just a way of testing. So that's a super easy one. But you said format. And this is something, if you want to explain the format, because we've changed ours, but you've also changed some other people's.
Yeah. So it depends on like what you have available to you too, So we predominantly with most of our email marketing, especially when a client has a blog, we're trying to repurpose that information and put it in the blog. So we are putting in snippets because the main purpose of the email marketing is to lead people back to the website, right? So we're trying to get people to click through and either make an appointment or purchase something depending on the client. So you can play around with the format a little bit. You can have a look and see where what you're asking, like what's the call to action. You can see, does learn more are people clicking through on that more, or are they clicking through on something that's very targeted towards that article? Like if it's a plumbing article, why is my toilet leaking? Like
Right.
that's more likely. So there are these things that have been tested by others. So we have these foundations that the big companies have tested, and they're like, okay, so this is the font size, this is the image size, this is the font size for your heading, this is where you should put it. There are all these things. But just because some big company that has done research tells you that this is what you should do, it doesn't necessarily mean that your particular audience likes that. So
Right.
running some A/B testing is just an easy way to just, are we hitting the spot? Are we making sure that that we are communicating with the clients in the way that they want to be communicated with?
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's,
Is it a snippet or is it a full article?
yeah,
Or is it,
exactly. Well, and we changed ours, right? We don't even do a full, we don't do a full article. What we do is actually we do a letter.
mm-hmm.
And I got that honestly from Ann Hadley.
Yeah.
I love her letter. It comes every 2 weeks. I loved it. And I was like, I'm going to do something similar. Now, there are links that go through that letter that go to other bits of our blog, but they're not a button click here. They are in there based on what we've written. And so this next one will be about A/B testing. It's what what our newsletter will be about. It'll go out to our people, they'll read it, and then they may click through to past articles we've written on it, right? That might be the case, but they might not. But we also know that our open rate is much higher when we use this way.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I think people
So,
do, you have to test to see if you're thinking about changing, think about testing that change first, so we tested it. We were like, okay, this is how our email used to look. We would have our blogs. We'd have 2 or 3 blogs and images, and everything clicks through to the website. And then we decided to do this just one letter. Does that work? So we test it. We see, does it impact open rate? Does it not? You need to check that. What you need to do is make sure that you're not changing 10
everything.
You're
Yeah,
changing
because then you don't know what worked.
Yes.
Right.
So one
Exactly.
thing for us, it was, okay, we're going to write the subject line in the same way that we always do, which it is different every time because it's based upon the subject of the email.
Right.
We do have one client, and every month their newsletter is the exact same name. It just has a different date in it, so that she wanted her audience to have that consistency of that specific thing. If she changes her mind, then we can do some testing and see what is better. Is it that?
Right.
Is it the different, the varied a subject line like we do? It also comes down to preference, right? So at the end of the day, we work for a client. So even though we might be like, hey, can we test this? If they're like, no, then
you can't test
it's
it.
no.
Yes.
So,
And I will tell you, that's a frustration as an agency owner to know that testing is important, to know that there's something that needs to be done, to know that something, I mean, because the truth is, you're much less likely to click on newsletter when you see newsletter, you're like, I don't have time for that. You pass it right by. But if it said, why is your husband going to get custody of your child? You'd be like, oh shit, I better read that.
Yeah.
Right. That kind of thing. It matters, man. It does. So you can also test other things that are in there. So one thing that we read, and actually this was the reason for us switching, is we read that you'll get lower open rates if you have photos in your email that you send out. And the reason was that it slows it down. And so we tested it. We've tested it both ways. And for us, taking the photos out made a big difference. For other clients, we took it out, didn't make a big difference. So it's your personal testing. It really does matter.
We have a client that has pictures in every time, and their open rate is excellent. So
yeah,
isn't just because, like I was saying, the industry may be telling you something, but your audience is not the industry standard, right?
Exactly.
You're very small, very narrow area that you're working with. That's what you need to focus on. If you're a multinational company that is, marketing products all over the world, then yeah, you kind of do, but you should still be testing at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So websites, this is you got really excited about this. And Yeah. And so talk a little bit about the websites because I think, again, let me tell you the thing that I thought of as buttons, right? Is because people put buttons and then maybe they put it at the bottom of the page. Well, maybe that's not where it should be. Maybe it should be right in that um, banner up at the top. Or
Mhm.
maybe you should have one even before the banner up in your navigation. So test your button placement, right?
Oh,
I think that's
there are
important.
a million things that you can test with websites.
Yeah.
I went to a session on this at Social Media Marketing World, and it was so interesting because, he was talking about like taking away distractions and whether or not you should have images and just all these different things. And it really got me thinking about our website in particular. We do build websites here. We don't do a ton every year, but it's something that has been growing in the last few months. And now we have somebody who's really good at being able to be dedicated to that. So that's changed kind of our focus in that area. Before it was us doing it. And even though we're perfectly capable of building a beautiful website, we have so many other things that we're working on. We just haven't had the time to really delve into that.
Yeah.
But I really, so I kind of think about it from our perspective, because for us, I feel like before we go testing anything of anybody else's, we need to be testing our own, right? So
Right.
this is the
Right.
whole how Anne ended up on TikTok.
Yeah, which we talked about in last week's show,
Yeah.
right?
So Anne
Yeah,
does social at TikTok. That's where Anne is. And so she's testing that out to try and come up with, we're all about processes here. We've talked about that in the past, to kind of try and come up with a process, right? So to try and figure out how that's going to work for our clients. That's testing. She's testing it. So when it comes to websites, you're going to be testing that. Is your picture working? Should you have a video at the top? Should you, if you're selling a product, where should that call to action be? Where should that buy now button be? Should it have, the image of the product? So I'm selling these glasses. I'm going to have the glasses. I'm going to have maybe a few other pictures of the glasses in other ways. I'm going to have a description of why these glasses are so awesome. I'm going to have the buy now button. And then I might even have the social links underneath, right? Because maybe you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to share that I bought these glasses on my social media. So they had a great example where they showed just moving moving the buy now button,
right.
and whether or not they had social links. They're not testing those things at the same time. So you have your standard, your I can't remember what you call it. The
Navigation.
oh, I feel like an idiot. In science, you have your
Oh my gosh, I know what you mean.
you
I
know
can't.
exactly what I'm talking about. And
Yeah,
everybody, I know
exactly.
that you're like, oh my gosh, Anastasia, figure it out. But anyway, so you have your standard. I'm going to call it standard because I can't think of what it is. So you have your standard, and then you make your modifications. So it's like, okay, what if I move this buy now button to right under the picture?
Right.
And I put the description underneath the buy now button. What if I move the buy now button to the top above the picture, but underneath the topic, underneath the title? So these are the things that you might be testing to say, okay, where are they most likely to click on it to go and make the purchase? And you
Right.
think that these things are like, oh, if somebody's going to buy it, they're going to buy it. Not necessarily. If they're
No.
on a phone, you have to think about, what does it look like on the computer? What does it look like on your phone? If that buy now button isn't on that screen, is your product and
Right.
your description good enough to make them scroll up to press the button?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
or
Well,
need it further up.
and then the other thing is sometimes people will say, well, I'm going to do a pop up. And that way they have the opportunity to buy before they even get to it. Well, sometimes, or maybe the pop up comes up and they close you down. So you got to test that pop up. Does that pop up work? But don't just say, oh, well, it didn't work. They went away. Maybe it did work, but you didn't give them the right call to action. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you said sign up for my newsletter when what you really wanted them to do was buy the darn thing,
Mhm.
or vice versa. Maybe they don't want to buy the darn thing, but they were perfectly willing to sign up for your newsletter. So test everything. I mean, really test everything. And then the other thing that I was thinking, Anastasia, is blogs. You can test your blogs. You can test on, first of all, is a blog going to work? You can do it for a few weeks, see if it works. And I'd really give it a couple of months of posting every week. But you could also say, well, does it work, or does it work better if I have the blog and then I also have a video in my old Anne's Running Commentary site? I had the blog, and then I would always record a YouTube video that basically talked about the blog. Now, some people wanted to watch the video, some people wanted to read the blog, right?
Mhm.
And it would be, you could tell based on how we do it. And so it's important to test all those things. Or maybe it's not even a video at all. Maybe it's not even a blog at all. Maybe it is just an audio, right? Maybe it's your podcast, and they go there and they can listen to it like you do when you're at work. Sometimes you're listening to podcasts while you're working. So test it. What is going to work for you?
Mhm.
I think that's so important to really just think about all the possible things you can test, but don't test it one time and say that doesn't work.
Oh, definitely. You have to
Right.
give it time. You have to, if you're testing a website, there's ways for you to do that. Google has tools for you to be able to do that. So, you can do that where they're running simultaneously. You can do like some paid promotion to drive traffic, just to get a good image and see what people are doing. So there's multiple ways to do that. But if if you feel, especially if I feel like this is very important, I think it's very important, period. But if you feel that you are stuck, that you're doing a lot of things, but nothing seems to be working, nothing's taking you where you want it to be, then now's the time to look before you go and spend a ton of money on on SEO and paid advertising. Have a look at your website and see what it is that you can do differently, because if you're getting a lot of traffic but you're not converting, something's wrong on your site and you need to be
Right.
taking.
Absolutely. I also wanted to, because we did not add this, we're going to talk about social media next. But before we do that, I want to talk about paid advertising. And I think that's another thing that people make a mistake with and they don't test, because they'll say, oh, well, I tried Google Ads and it didn't work for me. Well, what were you trying to sell?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we're trying to sell the thing that we really want to sell because we've got 100,000 widgets in our back room. Nobody's buying that. But guess what? They really like that little part of the widget, that, you know what I mean? That one little part, and they buy that. So maybe that's what we should be selling. So, or maybe they're coming to your website and they're telling you, hey, I really like this umbrella over here. I really like this umbrella that I keep seeing. I like that. That's what I want to buy. But you're advertising the widget. Meanwhile, these guys are over here saying, sell me more, sell me more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you're not paying attention. So test different things. Don't just say Google ads don't work. Look at, what am I selling? Or am I saying it right? Am I using the right words?
Using the right keywords? Are you looking in the right location? Are you targeting the right people? There are so many things that you should be testing. Now, when you're running Google ads through an agency, they should be doing that for you.
Right.
They should know enough to be like, hey, we're going to do it. We're going to test this and see how it goes, and then we're going to test this and see how it goes before we get into a final.
Exactly. But that being said, I do want to go back to, how many times have we talked to people who have said, oh, that didn't work, and they want their agency to do what they tell them to do,
Mhm.
instead of letting the agency say, hold on, you're right, that didn't work, but we were testing it, remember? And let's test something else. Because you have to be willing to test. If you're not willing to test, it's probably Google ads is not for you,
Mhm.
because it is all about testing how you run it. I mean, you might hit it right the first time. Chances of you hitting it right the first time are very, very slim.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about social media, because last week we talked about TikTok and Reels, right? And testing, the actual platform. But what are some of the other things, Anastasia? Because I think you talked about a lot of stuff.
Oh,
Some of the things, these are the things you could test.
my notes. Yeah. So, we went to, we'll probably be talking about social media marketing world, I feel, for
Until the next one.
quite some time. Exactly. But Mari Smith is a great organic Facebook marketer. And she was talking about, the different, like, what's popular right now. So like live video number one is the number one organic Facebook
Platform, or
yeah,
tool.
tool.
There you go.
And then after that, it could be a photo or native video, but so you're not recording it live, but you're posting it onto Facebook. And then, status update, which is just when you go onto Facebook and you're like, I feel blah, blah, blah. I feel happy because
right.
I'm going to the
Or
dentist.
you ask a question, right? You say,
exactly.
Yeah. And it's got that little background on
You
it.
can put a colored background, you can leave it blank, however you want to do it. So that's a status update. And then there was also links. So posts that have links in them. So she kind of listed them, and in the order that I said them is the order that she said they're performing currently on Facebook. But the thing is that you can't necessarily go straight off of that, right? So what she's saying is that most live video does better than photos, that does better than native video, that does better than status updates. That's what she's saying. Most.
Right.
Doesn't mean that your live video is doing better than your photo posts. So this is where you need to be testing. You need to go in and look at your analytics and see what's performing better. So are just plain photos performing better than video?
Right.
Or is your video, like whether it's live video or native video, like video that you've put up, is that performing better than photos? And we found that in the past, right? So video performs better. So I was very surprised to see that photos perform better than native video.
Yes.
On there. I mean, we knew that live video is great, which is why we do this, right? So we put up our video every week live for that reason, because it's going to do better than a video that's just put up. But then, so that was interesting to me that these were the stats. So, it's about going into your specific insights and taking a look. What's performing better? If you're only putting up status updates, then okay, let's add another layer to it. And the great thing with insights is that you can see which platform, which type of post is doing well, and like what kind of engagement they're getting, all that. You can see about the time. That's another thing that, these are things that you don't necessarily have to guess with social media, because they are providing you with tools to look and see see what's good for you. So if you have a history of consistent posting, then you can go back in your insights and get reliable data. If you don't have a history of consistent posting, then you're going to have to establish that consistent posting so that you can get reliable data. And that's what we're talking about with us. We're always talking about consistency. So if you want your data to be reliable, then you need to have a consistent, few months at least to be able to look back on, so that you can see the time of day, the day of the week. Because if you've got to be posting every day, but if you know that on Wednesday at 11 o'clock you get a lot of engagement, then put up your most important post on Wednesday at 11 o'clock.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Or if you know that your videos do better and you have the most engagement at 11 o'clock on Wednesday, then you combine that and you could end up doing very well. So it's all about playing the game.
And that's it. You can combine so many things. So I was just thinking about thinking about type of content, right? Interesting. Glasses and TikTok. People, if I have my glasses on, they don't watch the video. If I take my glasses off, I get same video, more, same content, more views.
Interesting.
Right? You could test the other thing. So one of the things that really, really amazed me was, I can't remember who was talking about it, but they said, I think it was Coca-Cola, hired ambassadors. And what they were looking for is TikTok ambassadors. And they said, so they picked these really top guys, and they're like, oh, we're creating for TikTok. So they hired like producers and things, and they started creating content aimed at making it beautiful and then nothing. Got crickets. So they're like, well, let's go to some micro influencers. Well, the micro influencers, they have their phone and maybe a ring light, right? That's it. And so they're created it, and it went nuts because people on TikTok and Reels want authenticity, right? So your type of content matters. And so the example I'm just going to use is, the language you use, right? If your audience might be the kind of audience that it, you throw in a bad word here and there, and they're more likely to stay with you. And they might be the kind of audience that you throw in a bad word and they're like, I'm never coming back to this little person again. She's going straight to hell. They might be that kind of person. So
I can't listen to this because my kid, I can listen to this with my kids if she's not swearing, but if she's swearing, then I can't listen to it.
Exactly. So it matters. And you just don't know. So the other one that you said was links,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes. So links, whether or not, so this was something that I found very, very interesting. They were talking about how like posts with links are actually the lowest.
Right.
However, again, this is something that you need to be testing. We have a client who we put links in her posts. She does very, very well. So
Right.
you need to be looking at your insights and test, maybe even just test that, where is the link doing more harm than good? Yes, the person can find them, but look, if you're on social media, you have a profile and your profile has your website in it. So you don't necessarily need to have it in the link. Now you're going to put a link in, if we have a blog, we have a blog, we have these videos, we're putting them up and we're linking to them. So it is something that you should be looking at in your insights again to see what's working. If you don't have data where you can compare that, then create it. Create the content and say, okay, I'm going to be putting these up, but compare apples to apples. So if you're putting up
Absolutely.
a post on Tuesday at 10 a.m. with a link, maybe put it up next Tuesday, same post without a link, and just test it. See what did better, but do it at the same, make the variables one thing.
Right.
So
Exactly.
link or no link,
Exactly.
photo or no photo, status update or a video. So it's either the type of post that you're putting up or whether or not it's linking to something else. We'll say, none of the platforms want you to link away from their platform. They just don't. They want to keep you there.
No.
You know,
Exactly.
Granted, I don't know why
Exactly.
Facebook has a problem with that, because if you click on a link and you're in Facebook, it's just going to bring up a window. And then when you close it, it takes you right back to Facebook. So I'm like, why are you complaining? Like,
Right.
people are still there. So just
Yeah.
stop your whining, Facebook.
Oh, I know. I know. I was listening, by the way, to a podcast this morning. Tim Ferriss had Zuckerberg on, and
Oh,
he just is so cringeworthy. He just makes me crazy. He just does. I know.
they're going to take away our direct chat line.
But I will say, I actually agreed with him on something. He talked about stress as a business owner, and he talked about how he does surfing and some other kind of crazy sports. And the whole point of it is that when his head, when he gets up, when he gets in his head and he's just spinning his wheels, that if he goes and does these things, he can't think about the thing that's bothering him. And I'm like, oh,
No.
that's really good. That's
I can't
totally.
imagine the stress level that he has. I mean, I
I
really,
can't either,
like,
honestly.
I know I give them a hard time, but I can't imagine having that stress. And maybe it's because I feel that they must feel a sense of responsibility, and I don't know if they do feel that sense of responsibility towards humanity, because
Right, I know, but
what they're creating has affected humanity, and it is changing the way we do everything from parenting to communicating with people, right? And some of the positives, some of
absolutely,
the negatives, and how you market your
absolutely.
business, which is curious to me with TikTok. We talked about that TikTok last week, but what that looks like on TikTok. So I guess, you know what? That's another testing thing, right? So test if you're on TikTok, what kind of content is working for you on TikTok? Is it work, like Anne's talking about the glasses, no glasses? Maybe you test out those glasses with those funky magnet things on them.
By the way, yes, so I will have those soon. They're gonna be here.
Oh,
I am today is my day that I call the doctor and get my prescription sent over so I can get my glasses, because I'm super excited about those glasses.
oh,
So
yes.
we'll show those off when they come in.
Anne was
Uh,
extremely excited when we met this lady
oh
in
my
San Diego who had these things that just clip right on the front and change the
I've
color.
spent my whole life being jealous of people who can just wear different kinds of glasses, especially sunglasses. But for me, like I've always thought, oh, it'd be really fun to have a red pair of glasses, but I don't want to wear a red pair. See, I'm wearing orange. If I had a red pair of glasses, that would clash. I
Yes.
don't want that. But if I could change them out that quickly, that would be so cool.
Mhm.
So yeah, very excited. So on the blog this week, what just went up this morning is how to engage your employees with internal marketing. And that's important. I think a lot of people don't think about their employees and internal marketing, especially if it's a small business. But I want to say this right now, and you can go over and read about it, but I can't stand it. One of the questions we ask our new clients, we say, what are your core values? What do you stand for? We ask them a bunch of questions, and then we say, do your employees know? And most of the time, even if they have it nailed down, they're like, this is exactly what we stand for. This is exactly what we feel. This is exactly what we believe in. When I get to the do your employees know, they go, no. I'm like, okay, so when somebody calls, your biggest thing is customer service. That's what you care about more than anything else. But what you've really said to your employee is it's all about the bottom line. So
Mhm.
that when a customer says, hey, I need to return this shoe, you're a shoe store, and they need to return this shoe, you say, customer's like, well, I'm not returning that shoe for you because it's all about the bottom line,
Mhm.
right? That there's a disconnect there. You don't want that disconnect. So that internal marketing is so important. That is on the blog this morning. So you should be able to go over to it. Please do go over and learn there. There's so much to learn on the blog. It's really a great resource for everybody.
And I think it's important that your people like know that, right? So we mentioned a company that we are not working with that we talk to, and they couldn't answer that question. But we didn't meet with the owner of the company. We met with their employees.
Right.
And these were higher level employees. So it was very interesting because I was like, they're like, here, they gave us all this stuff, right? And we're like, no. We need you to answer these questions for us because that's how we get your voice. That's how we can understand your company so that we can speak like you to, and these people we were actually going to be speaking to directly to their employees or their prospective employees. So when you look at your employees, look at the people that are higher level in your company. You know, if you're big enough to where you're not running day to day and you're
Right.
not involved in every decision, look at, or even if you're small, you know, look at your core values, look at your employees. Do they know? And if they don't, then make sure that you're marketing to them, right? So you're
Right.
marketing to know for them to know who you are because
Absolutely.
that consistency, we always come back to that. That consistency has to be running through the whole thread of your business. You know, you as the boss need to know that your employees know exactly how you feel about the business and how and what message that you're trying to get along to your customers. And then so you want your employees to know and your customers to know. And if there is a disconnect anywhere there, then it's not a consistent message. You know,
Right.
your website, your social media, your direct communication with your employees, all of that needs to flow.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is so important. So yeah, go over and look at the blog. We will be back here next week. Did we decide, Anastasia, what we're talking about next week?
Oh, yes. We're going to talk about
I found it.
launching.
What if you're just starting? Yeah. So what if you're just starting a business? And this happens a lot that people will say to me, I work by myself, but I know I'm going to grow.
Mhm.
Okay, so then what do you need? Or the one we get a whole lot is they call me and they're like, we need social media. And I'm like, you don't even have a logo yet, sweetheart.
Yeah.
So
You don't have a logo, you don't have a website. Like there are some standards you need to have.
exactly.
Basic.
So yeah, so we're going to talk about that a little bit about what you need. I do want to say we are still looking for sponsors for Burgers and Bands. If you want to see what we're up to at Burgers and Bands, it's burgersandbands.org. The event is May 15th. We're looking for sponsors and we hope you will be one of them because we need your support in order to keep this running. It's really, really important to our community, but I think at large, I think people all over the country see our posts and know what we're doing, and we've got a very positive message that is making a difference in people's lives. So, we'd love your support. If you don't mind going over and burgersandbands.org, you can make a donation, or you can sponsor, or you can just share it and tell people
Buy
about
your
it.
tickets and come out on May 15th.
Exactly. All right, everybody. We will see you later. Bye bye.